So today is Halloween, and so we're actually going to have a little connection activity in a minute. But first of all, we'll do our land acknowledgement. Today's theme for this meeting is curriculum, so that will be the bulk of our learning today. We will break out into discussion breakouts based on topics that we see in our curriculum introduction and think about our professional learning connections, and then do some closing as well. So that is our agenda. So once again, welcome. And our land acknowledgement today, I thought it would be nice. I don't think we've actually read a land acknowledgement for a few meetings, so I just thought we would read this version, which is, we hold this acknowledgement as a measure of accountability towards solidarity with Indigenous communities and current activism. We align our COE-COP with principles of Indigenous knowledge and believe in reconciliation and inviting and honoring the truth. It is critical that we show respect towards correcting the stories and practices that erase Indigenous people's history and culture, as this is necessary for our pursuit to create truly sustainable and climate-ready communities. Next slide. So I thought it would be nice to show you. I learned about this actually from Vanessa Carter, who is our counterpart in San Francisco. And these are some posters that you can download and put on, you can put right onto the poster the native land that you are from. And so you can see on the next slide, I just picked one and I have printed out a few posters. And I happen to be on Ramaytush Ohlone land. So whenever I do a professional development, I have these on 11 by 17 and I put them around the room. And as you saw on the first slide, there's different choices of whatever poster you feel is most appropriate. So that is just a resource for you. And there's a link as well on the previous slide. Next slide. Since today is Halloween, we thought it would be appropriate to talk about cultural appropriation. So there's a difference between really understanding and celebrating cultures and appropriating cultures. So the perfect example of appropriating cultures is mascots. So I actually went to a high school, Sequoia High School. Sequoia is the name of a Native American. And so then the mascot for a long time, including when I was there, because, I'm from the Stone Age, was the Cherokees. And so there were mascots, obviously, that dressed in Indian costumes. And now I think back on it and it's like so embarrassing, So my high school has now become the Ravens. But as we know, there still are some holdouts that are appropriating. And so the idea is to celebrate cultures and listen to stories rather than tokenizing and wearing the dress that really is only appropriate for those particular Indigenous tribes. So that concludes our land acknowledgement. And we are going to move on now to our community builder, I think. So I'm going to turn it over to Katie. Yes?
Yeah, thanks, Julie. As you said, today is Halloween, and we were thinking of what are ways that you have greened your Halloween? So when we were all doing planning for this, we're like, wow, Halloween actually is a very wasteful holiday if people celebrate this. So we're curious, what are ways that you have greened your Halloween, or possibly what's something that you would like to try for next year, or even tonight, because it's not too late. If you wouldn't mind going ahead and putting that in the chat, we'll do a bit of a waterfall chat here. So if you could please go ahead and put it in the chat, but don't hit enter yet. So either one of those questions. Okay, we'll hit enter in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit enter, please. Oh, holy bejeebies. Wow, they're all coming in. Oh, wow. Some amazing stuff in here. Reusing costumes, definitely. Riding gear. Oh my. Reusing the decorations. Oh, Christine, yes, thank you. No more fake spider webs. I let the real ones do their thing. Tried to tell that to my neighbors, but they don't always agree. Yeah, there's a lot of reusing of things. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing and no worries on hitting things sooner. Um, one of those things that we start to think about, just different ways that as we go through and celebrations, whatever the celebration is throughout the year, how we can start to make better choices for ourselves and for our community around this. And yes, composting those pumpkins, please do. Please do. Okay. So for those of you who are here with us for the first time, we like to always ground ourselves in what is CALI. CALI rhymes with valley. It's the California Environmental Literacy Initiative. And this is our statewide change to the education system so that we can support environmental literacy. And so we bring together different individuals throughout the state with a focus on equity to really start to think about how can we create that systems change for environmental literacy and sustainability. So you are here at our County Office of Education Innovation Hub, COP. Wow, it's a lot of acronyms that go right in there. And one of the things that we're really super proud of is in the past couple of years, we've started to grow the members in Cali that are involved in our Innovation Hub, and also those that we are able to connect with across the state. So you'll see in the map, on this map here, those that are in a darker orange are counties where we have representation, and the lighter orange are our counties where we've actually been able to have folks come to our COPs or they've done work with us. And then, so we're hoping to touch all 58 counties. That is our goal in some way, shape, or form. So I guess I kind of jumped the gun here with some of our objectives. And really, yes, it's how do we help support all of our counties and districts with the work that they are doing around environmental literacy and sustainability in all of the areas, so curriculum, campus, community, and culture. And with that, I am going to pass that along to Crystal.
All right. So we're talking about curriculum today, and this is definitely a lot of our wheelhouse of those that are on our COP. But it's also a place where we want to think about where we're branching out and connecting to more work. Next slide, please, Kate. So just this reminder that there's lots of mandates for environmental literacy. And it's that really interesting space around Ed Code where there is an expectation that environmental literacy show up. It's in our frameworks, science, history, social science, mathematics, physical education, the arts, health, soon to come ELA, once that comes up for revision. It's something that we want students to be thinking about in terms of TK through 12, all content areas, all of their spaces, bringing that environmental lens in. And when you get these slides at the end, you'll be able to get those links or somebody will toss them in the chat for you. And this reminder that when we think about curriculum, it's part of the 3 pillars that we consider when we think about environmental literacy. So the campus pillar, the community culture pillar, and then this curriculum pillar that sometimes bleeds into the other 2. Really thinking about what are we doing to involve student learning and integrate their instruction with sustainability and environmental literacy. Next one, Katie. And this is just a few of a giant list of possible variables that we think connect to teaching and learning, specifically curriculum as a pillar. So I want you to take just a moment and look at these on your screen And think about which couple, 3, 4, really rise to the top as places that you are already doing work that you could use as a leverage point for curriculum related to environmental literacy. So I'll be quiet and let you take a couple minutes and look through those and think about which ones rise to the top for you. And then if you want to toss into the chat those things, a couple of them that rise to the top of where's your work already centered that relates to curriculum and instruction. That you could bring that environmental literacy lens in, or you already are bringing that environmental literacy lens in. Thanks, Erin. Nice, Sean. Thanks, Christine. I'm loving the LCAP spaces. All right. So we are going to take this thinking of what you're already doing and consider what else we can add to this, what comes next. Okay. Next slide, please, Katie. So we do want to remind you that this is a continuum. So in some of those variables that you just saw, you might feel like you're all the way over the right. You're transforming the work that you do, maybe with your professional learning or when you're out advocating for LCAP. And some of those places you might be in that enhanced space where you're really saying like environmental literacy is just showing up as a way for us to do mathematics, but talk about it outside or bring in a topic that's related to the environment that we're graphing, but we're not really digging into it too much. So we think about this continuum of integration and the way that our work lives. A lot of us are in that sort of supplement focus area, right? But we want to think about how we might move forward with that. Katie? So we're going to send you to breakout rooms, and there's questions on the next slide. Thank you, Amity, for putting those in the chat also. And we're just going to put you in some random breakout rooms to have some conversations about this. So thinking about those variables, thinking about the work that you already do, what are you providing where you could bring that tie-in for environmental literacy? Maybe in the spicy side of that integration, or maybe in that enhanced entry side of that integration. Are there specific districts in your county that might be more ready for this than others? And are there other divisions or departments in your COE where you might connect to this? I know my CTE program is actually in a totally separate division, so I get to go wander over there and try to bring them along the way when it comes to environmental literacy. So who are those other people that you might lean on or bring with you as champions? So we're going to give you a chance to just go in some rooms, have some conversations about these, and then we'll come back and do a quick share out, really reminding ourselves that you all already have a step into this work and a foundation to build on as we move forward.
Okay, I'm creating the rooms right now. And I'm going to open them. You'll have either 3 or 4 people in there with you. Room 3 is deep in conversation.
No, room 3 came back. The other ones were in. Room 3 was like,
Oh, room 3 is back. Oh, you're right. Room 2 and room 1. Yeah.
there they go.
Room 1 is deep in conversation. Room 4.
Hi, y'all.
6 seconds.
Here we go.
Okay.
All right. So we would love for some of you to just pop off mute and share with us what things came up. Are there any patterns that you noticed in your breakout room? Anything that came up as questions or areas of strength that you discussed?
I'll just start because I didn't see the countdown, and so I was in mid-sentence sharing something when we got taken out. So I'll be able to finish that for Martini. In the breakout I was in, we were talking about the opportunities in the frameworks with the integration of the California environmental principles and concepts into the different curriculum areas, and math in particular, and talking about that framework is so much top of mind for districts right now, and the perennial challenges with math scores, and so talking about ways to make math relevant through environmental examples and explorations was what we were talking about. And I was sharing at the Climate Generation Conference, they had a session that highlighted math and integration, and they showed a map where we were looking at data across California and trying to just discuss what this might be visualizing, and then in the end found out it was the mapping of the tree canopies at all the public schools campuses in the state, with color coding by how much or how little tree canopy there is. That's part of the California Schoolyard Forestry project's data collection, and so that's available on their website. But it was great. But Martini had shared using waste, like calculating your how much trash is produced in your own home was a challenge that was brought up as a great, engaging, relevant way to engage students in using a lot of math while building awareness of environmental impacts.
Awesome. Thanks, Amity. And room 4.
And I got there late, so the folks I was with might have had other things to share too. I didn't, just wanted to finish what I was sharing with Martini.
I'll share. I don't know what room number what breakout group number we were in though. And we were also talking about kind of the emphasis on math and if there were any opportunities, but also sort of wondering if there might be a little bit of a shift to science, as the cast going on the dashboard may bring some more awareness. So really leaning into science as an opportunity to support environmental literacy.
Thanks, Summer. We're all hoping for more science. Anyone else?
I'll speak to for our room then. AB 285 keeps coming up, and the headache surrounding around that, trying to figure out how to best advise districts and teachers when it comes to the curriculum and all of the other impending unknown questions that is difficult to answer if we're still not clear about either.
Awesome. And that is the perfect segue. You would think I placed Anthony in the room. I'm going to toss it over to Amity to move us to the next section. And in your next breakout rooms, that might be a place that you choose to talk.
Thanks, Crystal. And Katie, it might be easier for me to just go ahead and share screen because I'll be clicking through on a few things. So we can just, swap out here. And Sorry, gotta get up to. All right. And so the next segment, we wanted to just acknowledge that a lot of what county offices provide in terms of support to districts, there's many other things that we provide, but in this curriculum and instruction pillar, it's a lot of professional learning support for districts. And just to sort of frame how that work looks, in developing resources and thinking about environmental literacy integration, kind of think of these two categories of how counties provide programs that are just available for anybody to opt into. So we call them like catch-all programs, come y'all, like where teachers can opt wherever, whatever district or school they're from to come. And it's not technical support being offered to a district that's customized. And so this is a great entry point for environmental literacy, partly because that it means that those who want to be there can come. Sometimes you have districts that are not necessarily prioritizing environmental literacy, but there's sure to be teachers there who care deeply about the environment and are integrating it into what they do and want support for that. And so that's one of the benefits, is providing programs that can support those educators and then help county offices find the champions who can then help from the ground up build support for environmental literacy within the district and school systems. So these are just some of the benefits if you think about how environmental literacy programs can grow grow at the district and school level. So yeah, helping to identify the leaders in those areas. It helps you build relationships across the county with those like-minded teachers. And you definitely get a range of people coming from different systems, different schools. So you find out about the range of challenges and also can find successes to share and leverage across districts. Teachers love to be able to meet with people outside their system and hear about how something is working in another place and be able to bring back that idea to their school or district. It also is a great way to bring in connections to local environmental education providers in your region, whether you have nonprofits doing environmental education and field trips, or public park systems, state parks, or even your municipalities may have education focused departments in like water or waste management, zero waste offices. Those folks also have priorities around educating the public around environmental resources. And so you can bring those in and connect with them and build relationships between your county office and those partners who can really add capacity for you as well as for the schools. And these are just some of the considerations you can think about if you're developing those county-wide programs. There are a lot of different structures you can go for. There's several of us in this Cali COE Innovation Hub have sort of these knowledge to action fellowships that are fairly in depth, where they go across maybe 7 months, and teachers are doing sessions learning about environmental literacy and then applying that learning to lesson sequences in their classroom or action projects in their classroom with students, and coming back with a product to share out about their implementation. But that's just one way to do it. That's kind of on the spicy end of that implementation spectrum that that Crystal was talking about. You can also do workshop series or one-off workshops that people can come for on a variety of topics. You know, choose what's relevant in your county. It might be integrated into your county's coaching programs if you have coaches in your districts, or it could be a community of practice model. So you know best what your county office's strengths are in terms of PD, and so thinking about where environmental literacy might be layered in the most effective way is what we're promoting. And you can also think about your different audiences too. It could be around a subject area, like we were talking about how math is top of mind for a lot of districts right now. So it might be really focused in on what the priorities are for your district subject wise, or it might be for certain grade level teachers, or even outside of classroom teaching to expanded learning or classified staff. And then the other big branch, I'm not spending a ton of time on these because you all know this work really well, since we all do it, is providing customized support and professional learning to our districts. And this is, of course, the benefit is that you have their buy-in because they have requested your support for something. And so you know it's a priority. And so if you can find a way to bring environmental literacy in as the meaningful, relevant context for that learning, it might not be that the district is asking for professional learning support around environmental literacy. In fact, it's more likely they're asking for something else, but you can use the environment as the context to make that meaningful and relevant and engaging, like if you're getting requests for science or math support. And yes, this is designed specifically for the district that you're working with. And it's a great way to increase buy-in with the leadership as they get introduced to environmental literacy through something that is important to them already. And again, bringing in those partners can help create relationships between your districts and community-based partners, which end up being really capacity building for them. So that's a great benefit. And some of the common requests we see in our COE spaces when we were thinking about it is when you're asked to just come in for a district PD day and provide something. Like I've been asked to come in and do nature journaling with a district PD day, stuff like that. Systemic integration across a specific subject area. So we're supporting math right now. As an example, it might be doing interdisciplinary project-based learning with districts if that's a priority for them, or if they're trying to use their outdoor spaces more. That especially happened during COVID and has continued to some degree as districts realized that getting outdoors was a great way to learn. And this last one is a huge one for most districts right now, SEL and trauma-informed practices. SEL with COVID has become, just a major focus for many districts, and having raising awareness of how time in nature and the benefits of environmental outdoor learning for social emotional health is a big opportunity to share about that in those spaces and in wellness initiatives in general. And in terms of the structures, just balancing what your capacity is with the goals of the district and your goals to make sure you're still, sticking close enough to their goals, but integrating where you can, and gathering data from them about where they're at in this sphere is another thing to think about that can be beneficial later. And moving from that one-off PD to suggest more in-depth PD is the goal. And we have a tool that can help with getting started in this. If you are asked to do some kind of PD, or you want to start a catch-all program, we have this teacher call to action for environmental literacy, and I'm sure my colleagues will put this in the in the chat as a great toolkit to get started. It has a section where you get sort of the definitions of why this work is important. So you can look at the different imperatives and see which one is relevant to your audience that you're working with. It has a showcase of examples from the field, and it includes a roadmap of steps to get started for the classroom level integration. And then, so that's one entry point, is professional learning programs. That's a huge entry point. And these might think of these as subsections of that, and in some cases they're sort of their own thing too. But what we're going to do in a moment is give you some time in breakout rooms to explore resources related to all these different entry points, and a few discussions to discussion questions after looking at them and digesting a little bit. And so these are the other entry points that we identified, partly because we have tools for several of them, or there are resources out there for several of them. So this note taker here is not as pretty as the slide, but this is what we're going to use in the breakout rooms, so that you can also take notes. So this has the prompts that you can use your own prompts, but these are guiding ideas of what makes you see this entry point as an opportunity for your COE. Do you have examples of current work related to it to share with the others? And what needs do you have to advance and make progress in this area? And these are the entry points that were listed on that slide. We're recommending just choosing one of these for this breakout room to go a little deeper with the resources and have time to talk about them. That's one thing we're always hearing is like, so many resources, but I need more time to dig in. So let's just focus on one entry point. So I'll just run through these, and then we'll ask you to choose. We'll create breakout rooms and you'll get to choose one of those. So the COE offered professional development. I just went through it kind of in depth, and there's the link to the toolkit for the call to action. And if you were in that group, you would take notes here, and choose a note taker in your group. AB 285 is the new legislation just passed this past year to mandate climate change education in grades 1 through 12 science. And Callie has developed a toolkit, some guidance around that here. So that could be a thing to dig into. Early learning is an emerging opportunity for sure. This one doesn't have a toolkit. We're just starting a working group in the Callie COE Innovation Hub. But the link here is to the California Preschool Transitional Kindergarten Learning Foundations, and there's a lot of opportunity there for environmental literacy integration. SB 720 was the legislation that moved the California Environmental Principles and Concepts into EdCode, which is what triggered environmental literacy topics and those principles being embedded in every curriculum framework as they're being revised in our system. So these are the ones that they have been revised with environmental content in them. I believe there's also CTE stuff as well. And so this document here has an overview of links to resources by content area across content areas for that integration. These are some of the sublinks that are in that document as well. And so you can explore those if that's the entry point you're thinking about, is standards integration. The Cal MSCS grants, again, there's no Callie toolkit, but this is just so relevant right now. We're all in the midst of it. And so that from the start has embedded environmental literacy within the guidance documents and in examples in the sample planning tools that have been created at San Joaquin and by the leaders. So that's something to think about. State Seal of Civic Engagement is a great opportunity for environmental literacy. A lot of people think it's just history, social science, and it is civic engagement, but that engagement can happen through science class learning. It can happen all kinds of places. And there's a wonderful implementation guide that was developed by Callie. And then CTE and Green Careers. Callie pretty recently developed a call to action, educating for a green economy, kind of white paper. So that's another area to think about. And social justice, racial justice, ethnic studies initiatives in your districts. If you know that's a priority in any of your districts, there's this environmental justice report that was put together by the California Subject Matter Project and 10 Strands that has helpful entry point ideas. And then lastly, the green schoolyards as living laboratories that I mentioned before. The California Schoolyard Forest System link here is the one where you can actually find, if you scroll down a little within it, the map to the tree canopy map that I was talking about earlier. And then there's a separate document that is making the academic case for those schoolyard forests. So really lays out how those forests can be used as living laboratories across the content areas. So those are the choices, and just choose one for now, and we'll have about 15 minutes in the breakout rooms, and well, we could even go a little longer, so give yourselves some time to read and look at them. So maybe 20 minutes. And so first, when you go in your breakout rooms, go ahead and check in with your folks in there about how much time they might need to look at that resource, and maybe give some silent time for people to do that for a little bit, and then come back and discuss using those prompts what you are seeing. Does that make sense? Any questions?
Are you going to label the breakout rooms by the subject area? Is that how
Yes, that's the idea. I'm not making them, so
Yeah, they're all ready to go.
okay,
And you can
they're right there.
choose whichever room you want to go to. If you want to hop from room to room, you can do that too. We have 7 rooms, so that's kind of a lot of rooms. So if you find yourself being the only person in the room and you're kind of twiddling your thumbs, then maybe, go to a different room. We
Yeah.
ready?
Hi, oh, we don't quite have everybody back. Still waiting for a little bit longer as people finish those breakout room discussions.
CTE's in the middle of theirs, it looks like.
Yes, and there's still some folks in the climate change group wrapping up their conversations, and then we'll get started.
And we were so engaged in conversation because we had a big group. And so we did not get a lot of note taking, but I just threw some quick things in there right at the end.
Thank you, Erin. We saw that, like, oh, they're starting to take notes in there. I went to a different breakout room, and then when I was checking, I thought, oh, I feel so bad. We're pulling them out just when they're starting to take notes. But yes, I'm glad to hear that the reason is that you were having a lot of really good discussion. So why don't we just do a little bit of a debrief around, like, any highlights from that discussion you want to share for the benefit of the folks who were in the other breakouts?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think for me, it was that document that I'm thinking Andra put that together, right? Or did you guys, it was a collaboration, that 8285?
That was the COE Innovation Hub collaboration.
Yes. So that came out like literally like 2 days before I did a PD down in Morgan Hill on climate change education. And so the timing couldn't be any more perfect. And I have gotten such positive feedback from the educators that were in my group. And it's such a great tool. I mean, everything that is put together by this group is amazing. So I just kind of talked a little bit about how I used that in the PD that I did. And we also just talked about this integration, I mean, there's so many different entry points for this in particular, which makes it really easy to integrate, but it's, really having those needs and resources and those conversations with your administration or district leaders on like how you can advocate for yourself to get that training or PD around it. So it would be really helpful to have a document on like how to talk to your admin.
Oh my gosh, that's what we're
Are
working
you
on
doing
right
that?
now. Yes.
Well, I've started to work on one as well. So
Oh, we need to invite you to join us.
I have a little visual, like a little that I've just started to dabble, so I can share it with you guys for sure. Let
Awesome.
me know who to share it with. And
Thank you, Erin. Yeah,
of
if you share it
course,
share it with me and I'll
I
share it.
will.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
great. And thank you for for the feedback on the toolkit. We're doing a session on CASE to introduce that AB 285 toolkit. So if any of you
Yay.
are going to be at CASE, come on to that session, and yeah, we can plant you there in the audience, Erin. You can
Yeah, I know I'm going to be there for I'll be there for sure.
Anybody else want to share from their breakout any ahas or resources, elements that were helpful?
Yeah, in our little breakout room with Amity, we talked about the need to have English teachers focus on this topic and the fact that maybe next year that might be starting to be in the works with the California Department of Education, because it's the one area that has not really had a lot of formulation of curriculum around teaching English about climate change. So hopefully that'll be in the works. And I put a couple resources up in the chat for working with English teachers.
Yep, the ELA framework, curriculum framework will be the next framework to get updated with the California environmental principles and concepts and topics embedded. And did any share out from CTE and Green Careers Group?
It was a lot to read.
Yeah, we didn't get through the whole document in time.
Yeah.
I'm so glad though to have that space to read that because it's really sparked a lot of ideas.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's always the hard part is there's all these resources and then you go away and you're like, oh, I never remember to go back and look. So hopefully, if you mostly use the time to just look through them, then that is valuable too. We hope that was valuable for you all. Thank you for sharing, folks. I'm going to turn it over to Anthony to wrap it up. We do want to make sure that you get information about upcoming sessions and our invitation to join us at CASE if you are going to be there.
Thank you. So as you can see on here, we've got 3 more meetings, and we look forward always to learning with you and growing our support for environmental literacy in California. You can see that our next meeting is with community-based partner networks, then expanded learning, and then ending with youth programs. Go to the next one. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of our current COE Innovation Hub members. Again, you can contact us, reach out for any questions about the meetings. If there's any COEs near you that's represented, you can also connect with them. And I've got the nice envious position of ending because we've got the whole gots and needs. So we're going to put that in the chat box for you. And if you can just go ahead and click on that, give us some of your gots and needs, and then we'll be able to kind of end the day.
Does anybody have the form for RSVPing for the CASE gathering that we can put in the chat for anyone? Is anybody going to CASE? Okay, I see some hands. So we're doing a Cali meetup if anybody wants to join in on Thursday, the night before the conference starts up and the day after the leadership day stuff ends. I'm hoping one of my colleagues is finding that RSVP link to
I think
put
I
in the
have it,
chat.
Amity.
Okay.
Is it the Google form?
The Google form that, yeah, Sarah made from 10 Strands.
Yeah,
10
I
Strands
think
has generously said they'll provide a drink for every person, and then we're getting the RSVPs so that we can reserve a spot and email or text out. It just gathers the contact info so we can let people know where it will be, the logistics of it. So it'd be great to see you live and in person. Thanks for being here today, and thank you for the feedback on the session as well.
Hey, Amity, the form doesn't say exactly when that meetup is. Do you know when that is?
It's Thursday.
It says Thursday, November 7th. I don't think there's a...
Yes. She hasn't reserved the spot in the restaurant yet. I believe it will be around 6 or 7. You know, it'll be after all of the official leadership day activities are happening. So it won't conflict with any live sessions, but we had heard that there was maybe also a reception for leaders. And so I think we were trying to figure out how to not conflict.
Yeah,
but it'll be that
just
evening sometime.
Yeah, we do have a reception. I think it's like at 4:30 or something. So
yeah, so then we'll probably try and push it later so people could attend both. Thanks, everyone. Great to see you.
Okay, thank you.